According to the American Psychological Association, approximately 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. That means 50% of your dads went to the store to buy milk but never came back. That's kind of like the main protagonist for this next anime, Taishou Otome fairy tale. Well, actually, his father is still around but just abandoned him. It's similar but not the same thing, but now we're getting off topic. It's the 1940s in Japan, and you've lost the use of your right arm. Luckily, you come from a wealthy family, so you're taken care of. But your entire family ridicules you to the point of depression, and they want you out the way. Luckily, your dad bought you a companion to spend the rest of your life with, being your wife. Can she get you out of your funk? So grab a snack and buckle up for this one.
The narrative centers on a pessimistic young man named Tamahiko Shima, who has lost all hope for the future. He was born into a household where he was raised without any affection from his parents or siblings, and after losing his mother and right hand in an accident, his father no longer had any expectations of him. Now that Tamahiko's dominant hand was worthless, his father didn't want him to be a member of their family, so he sent him to their villa in the Chiba Deep Mountains, where he will live out the rest of his days. As the days go by, Tamahiko's loneliness and pessimistic thoughts worsen, and he muses over how much easier it would be for him to just go to sleep and never wake up one night during a chilly winter. He hears a knock at the door. He goes to check and discovers that a girl named Yuzu has come to marry him. She was sent by the father of Tamahiko. Since no one from a well-known family would give Tamahiko their daughter, his father purchased a bride who would look after him. Knowing that she must have come here in this severe weather, Tamahiko gives her his coat and then shows her the room where she will stay. Without saying anything more, he then leaves for his room as he would on any other day. Tamahiko had another restless night, although this time, in contrast to previous days, Yuzu is already awake and cleaning the home, so there is a lot of commotion. In an attempt to be helpful, Yuzu helped wash Tamahiko's face and insisted that he sleep in order to prevent dark circles. However, Tamahiko doesn't like how direct she is, so she enters his room and begins cleaning it as well. After that, she gets breakfast and buys vegetables from the village. But these initiatives, Tamahiko dislikes her because he finds it hard to comprehend that he was already leading such a miserable existence and that she is now making it worse. Yuzu insists on wiping his back as she enters the bathroom. Looking at her attitude and energy, Tamahiko wonders what's wrong with this girl and assumes she must have had an easy life. However, Yuzu tells him she has to. Tamahiko realizes he forgot that Yuzu was sold off to pay off her parents' debt, indicating that she must have had a difficult life. Simply after that, Yuzu unties her hair, which is so wavy and fluffy that she finds it extremely embarrassing. When Tamahiko sees how upset she is over it, he chuckles and then hastily apologizes. But Yuzu isn't bothered by it. Tamahiko had enough of her pestering him, but she's happy to see it made him chuckle. It is December 31st, 2021, and the year is almost over, but as usual, he is absorbed in his thoughts, recalling how his family members all hoped he had perished in the disaster as well. Yuzu enters the room at that moment, lights the fire, and prepares tea. She irritates Tamahiko, who asks if she doesn't despise him, being wed to a gloomy man who works with just one hand. He requests that she express how much she despises her bad luck. As she makes the tea and hands it to him, Yuzu plays a calming tune that reminds Tamahiko of his childhood when his mother used to sing it for his younger sister. But he also begins to think negatively about how he is tired of being unneeded and injured every night, and he believes that no one will be sad when he dies. Tamahiko questions why someone like Yuzu, who is not even related to him, is being so nice to him after she pats his head and consoles him. Yuzu says she was worried about the kind of man her future husband would be when she was purchased for 10,000 yen, but she knew right away that he would be kind to her and would love her for the rest of her life. She wants to treasure him because of this. Since it's a new year, she asks whether they should share a bed while holding his hand. Although Tamahiko ultimately agrees, he is now panicking since he is unsure of what to do in these circumstances. He looks to the filthy magazine for inspiration, but Yuzu intended for them to actually share a room while they slept. If he wanted to sleep in the same futon, Yuzu apologizes, but since they are not married, it would be a shameful deed on her part because she has never loved anyone. She vows to save herself for him, though. She bids him good night before turning in for the night. Tamahiko questions this girl's behavior. He closes his eyes, and when he awakens the following day, Yuzu greets him, and the year has changed. One of his favorite New Year's dishes is the brunch that Yuzu gives him. Even though Tamahiko thinks it's delicious, she can't stop thinking about the talk from yesterday. In the afternoon, when Yuzu takes a bath. When Tamahiko inadvertently enters the bathroom, he quickly shuts the door and flees away. Yuzu later expresses regret for displaying her shameful side, but Tamahiko tells her that because the room was cloudy, he didn't see anything. Following this, Yuzu delivers the meal, and as soon as his father's mail arrives, Tamahiko reads it and learns that his sister and older brother have been offered marriage. However, his decision to claim him dead in the accident breaks Tamahiko's heart because it would bring dishonor to their family and destroy the matches if the other families learned they had a useless younger brother. He advises Yuzu to stay when she approaches and asks to join him for supper. Yuzu can't sleep, poor thing. Additionally, Tamahiko doesn't leave the following day so she can take care of the housework. However, Yuzu has in the evening fed up. She walks into the room and discovers he has a fever. After caring for him and learning about the letter, Tamahiko decides it would be best for him to pass away so that his family can finally have what they have been longing for, and she can stop caring for a pitiful person. After grabbing his cheeks and telling him that it's not funny to say such things, Yuzu gives him a hug and reassures him. When he finds Yuzu singing and preparing breakfast, she freaks out and tells him he needs to get more sleep. However, Tamahiko claims that because he was alone himself, he was bored. To thank her for yesterday, Tamahiko asks Yuzu if she wants to travel to Tokyo. Yuzu checks his fever and is relieved to see it is gone. Yuzu concurs right away, and when they get there, she's astounded to find so many people dressed in contemporary gowns. On the other hand, Tamahiko vowed never to leave the house since he is afraid of the large crowd. However, it's for Yuzu to relax. Like a tiny child, Yuzu is giddy with delight when they walk into a big store, and Tamahiko rewards her by wanting to purchase her a kimono. She asks Tamahiko which of the two kimonos she has chosen would fit her best. Tamahiko tells her she may have both. Yuzu freaked out because they both look wonderful and they are ridiculously expensive, but he assures her he has enough money. After purchasing it, she assures him that she would cherish it and pass it on to their children in order to ensure that this priceless memory is preserved. Tamahiko blushes profusely when she hears such unpleasant things. After Yuzu continues to tour, she spots some ice cream, so Tamahiko purchases some. As she tries to feed him, Yuzu is thrilled because it's his first time eating it. After eating it, the locals begin chatting about how ungraceful the youth have become, and they board the train to return home. Yuzu dozes off over Tamahiko's shoulder after a long day, and just as she is ready to roll over to the other side, he draws her in closer and allows her to rest on him. Yuzu finishes making her kimono after a few days. Tamahiko can't take his eyes off the girl since she is so beautiful. At that moment, Tamako, Tamahiko's younger sister, arrives. With all she has brought with her to spend a few days at their family guest's house, Tamahiko is frightened to see her. In a panic, Tamahiko tells her that it's now his home. But Tamako doesn't want to hear from a deceased person. She begins making fun of Yuzu's height after realizing who she is. Tamahiko reminds her that she should respect Yuzu because she is older than her. Tamahiko is familiar with his sister's language. When it strikes your heart, it will sever it like a knife. After some time, Yuzu brings Tamako's bags and shows her to her room. She also assures her that she will be in the next room if she needs anything. Tamahiko apologized on his sister's behalf while making supper, but Yuzu didn't feel guilty about it at all. In fact, she wanted to be friends with her since she liked how happy she was. When Tamako overhears the talk, she expresses her disinterest in being her friend. When he is no longer with their family, Tamahiko asks her why she has come here at all. Tamako bursts into laughter as she recalls how their siblings pretended to be sorrowful when their father announced his passing. and even their father performed a brilliant deed by telling Yuzu to bring the supper to her room, as she would not be sitting at the same table as her brother. For some reason, Tamahiko doesn't feel like eating breakfast the following day. When Tamako asks if he wants to go for a stroll with her, but after making a charming face, he complies because he can see how much her words have affected him. As they go up the mountain, Tamahiko observes how lovely the surroundings of his home. As soon as they reach their destination, the sight of the surroundings makes Tamahiko feel much better. After hearing it, Yuzu is happy. They then go see an Inari statue before going back home. When Yuzu is preparing something in the afternoon, Tamako becomes interested and inquires about it, not realizing it's milk caramel. She becomes alarmed that anything of this nature might be prepared at home. Yuzu even feeds Tamahiko the candy once it is prepared, and both of them blush. Tamahiko thinks it tastes good, which makes Yuzu extremely happy. However, Tamako becomes enraged and asks angrily why eating a bit of sugar makes him happy. She calls them both stupid, throws the candy to the ground, and walks away. Tamako needs to use the restroom at night when it starts to rain, but she becomes afraid and lacks the bravery to walk alone while the thunder rumbles. She begs Yuzu to accompany her to the bathroom, keeping in mind that she is near to her room. Yuzu concurs, but Tamako ends up urinating on herself as another thunderclap rumbles. While Tamako bathes, warming the water, and then combing her hair, Yuzu swiftly snatches her and puts her into the bathroom. Despite all of the terrible things Yuzu has said to her, Tamako questions why she is still so nice to her. Yuzu demands that Tamako spend the night with her. Tamako reveals that her father avoided her when she was a child and would instead pay the servant to handle her. She wanted to make friends even at school, but nobody would approach her. Nobody would want to marry a tall lady like her, especially if she is from the arrogant Shima clan, according to the rumors and remarks made about her height at school. Her father became enraged when she took a few days off and inquired whether she wanted to follow in Tamahiko's footsteps. She eventually became irritated, which is why she came here. Yuzu can appreciate Tamako's sense of loneliness. She regrets hearing it since she wouldn't allow her adorable younger sister to ever feel alone if she were her older sister. However, everyone would detest having a sister like Tamako because she doesn't feel that way about someone this large and with her attitude. As Yuzu sings, she reassures her that she would never hate her and that in fact, it would make her happy. After hearing a lullaby, Tamako eventually nods off. When Tamahiko sees his sister and wife getting along the following day, he is astounded. Since it's his first time witnessing Tamako happy, he questions what transpired in a single night. However, in addition to being content, Tamako has become possessive of Yuzu and excludes her brother during their sister time. Yuzu goes to get the vegetables and does other housekeeping after enjoying some music with Tamako. More than 6 months have passed since Yuzu and Tamahiko moved in together. As Yuzu goes to bring some cold tea, she abruptly collapses. When Tamako arrives in a hurry, she discovers that Yuzu has a fever. She brings her to Tamahiko's room, which is close by, after Tamako declines to hold her because he fears dropping her with just one hand. Despite having a fever, Yuzu comes to and encourages them to drink the soup she has prepared since she is concerned about them. Tamako makes the decision to locate a doctor in the hamlet. She advises Tamahiko to at least be helpful enough to calm Yuzu's nerves in the meanwhile. After a while, Tamako shows up with the nurse and doctor. Tamahiko takes the water from the well and carries it to the chamber as he assesses Yuzu's condition. But he can't hold it for long and drops the bucket. When he sees this, Tamako looks at him dismayed and orders him to stop doing anything. The doctor eventually informs Tamahiko that Yuzu has been working too hard and that she has finally hit her limit because of the excessive buildup of wariness. The physician is enraged. He is aware that Tamahiko is from the Shima family, which is notorious for having an impolite attitude, but it doesn't give them the right to mistreat their subordinates, regardless of how wealthy they are. They go after saying this, and Tamako questions Tamahiko about why he withheld the truth. Yuzu is not his servant. While Tamako goes to look after Yuzu, Tamahiko chose not to say it because it is true that Yuzu ended up this way as a result of him. Tamahiko understands that if she hadn't been here, he has no idea what would have happened to Yuzu. He knows that if she stayed with him, she would only experience suffering. At night, Yuzu worries about Tamahiko once more and inquires as to whether he had eaten. She questions whether her brother is the right man for her to marry. He is completely worthless and a negative thinker who only considers the bad. Yuzu claims that if she leaves him, he will become lonely once more, which will depress her. Since Tamahiko will eventually become her husband, she thinks he will once more begin to look forward to enjoying his life. After saying this, around 10 p.m., her fever climbs once more. In his chamber, Tamahiko is fretting for Yuzu. Since Tamako assured him earlier that she was with her, he is not meeting her. He chooses to visit Yuzu's room because he just cannot sit and do nothing. He enters the room to find Yuzu choking and her chest covered in blood. When Tamahiko looks more closely and starts to worry, he discovers that Yuzu has been attempting to rip the bandages but has instead injured her hand. Half sleeping, Yuzu asks Tamako to untie the bandage because she thinks she is the person in front of her. Tamahiko is a beta male and starts freaking out and starts looking around and wondering where Tamako is. However, on seeing how much Yuzu is suffering, he decides to cut the bandages. He grabs a scissor and cuts it down. The moment the bandages loosen up, Yuzu's gigantic melons just burst out, making Tamahiko shocked by the size. Yuzu, on waking up, freaks out and apologizes for yet again showing her disgraceful side. But along with her hair, this is the second big thing she is worried about. They are getting so big as if they are absorbing all her height nutrition. She looks fat. Her shoulders feel stiff, and there are too many things her melons make her worry about. Tamahiko abruptly apologizes to Yuzu, telling her that he can't take care of her and that he may continue his own life as he was, but he wants her to find happiness with someone else. Yuzu gives him a hug and tells him that she will be content as long as they are together. When Yuzu is seen near to his door, the scene changes to the following day. Yuzu feels fantastic, but Tamahiko freaks out and tells her to at least rest for another day. Although she has already prepared breakfast, Tamahiko decides to stay with her after seeing her smile and begins to consider how he may improve himself in order to help Yuzu. He must first stop thinking negatively in order to become one. At that point, Tamako tells them she is heading home tomorrow in order to pursue her goal of becoming a doctor. Tamako wanted to be like Yuzu after meeting her and witnessing her kindness. She became upset at her own incapacity after witnessing Yuzu's suffering and made the decision to learn medicine in order to assist others. She assures Yuzu that she need not worry about anything because their uncle Tamasuka owns a clinic in Kobe where she would live and study. As the scene changes to the evening, Tamahiko sits next to Tamako after packing everything she owns. He thanks her for coming here and taking care of Yuzu. He would really like it if she could visit them again. Tamako blushes and tells him he doesn't need to thank her for it. As for coming here again, she would only visit for her elder sister Yuzu. Just then, Yuzu comes and suggests sleeping together for the last night. At night, while both Yuzu and Tamako are sleeping, Tamahiko remembers how, just like him, Tamako also didn't receive love from their father and mother. But as a big brother, he is truly a failure because he was too preoccupied with his own problems to ever have the opportunity to lessen that weight for her. But since she is the one he loves the most, he is confident she will be all right and make a wonderful doctor. When Tamako is ready to leave the following day after speaking with Yuzu, she blushes and tells her brother to touch her head the next time when she is completely awake. A month later, on September 1st, the train leaves with this. Yuzu delivers some tea while Tamahiko is composing a letter, but she soon heads to the village after remembering that today is market day. Tamahiko becomes concerned after learning about the village and recalling the doctor's earlier remarks. People in the village begin chatting about how a small girl is living alone in the mountains with a guy when Yuzu first arrives, but Yuzu ignores them and keeps shopping. At that moment, Tamahiko runs over and assists her with lugging things. He notices how much the villagers make fun of them, but Yuzu isn't bothered by it. In fact, today is her happiest day yet because it's their second time going out since they traveled to Tokyo. to make a joint purchase. It seems to be just the two of them, and the girl is lost in her own world. For the following 30 minutes, they go veggie shopping, eat, and drink. When Tamahiko sees so many books, she becomes excited. Since both of his parents abandoned him at a very young age and ignored him, even on his birthday, he truly enjoys studying. As a result, the books became his greatest friends, and once they bought them, they went home. To commemorate Tamahiko's birthday, Yuzu cooks a feast at night. When she asks Tamako about it, she puts her heart into preparing a simple gift because she knows he enjoys reading and felt a bookmark would be a good fit. Tamahiko cries because he is very delighted. Yuzu gives him a happy birthday while holding his hand. Tamahiko comes to the realization that he is not as alone as he once was. He gives her a hug and says that simply hearing "happy birthday" meant so much to him that he would cherish her, but he later clarifies that he meant the gift. Just then a noise comes from another part of the house as if something is breaking. Tamahiko goes to check it when he enters his room and finds a girl sitting and eating the candies Yuzu made. Tamahiko demands what she is doing here. The girl approaches and introduces herself as Ryo. Tamahiko becomes alarmed and questions how someone who broke into someone's house could be so composed. When Ryu pulls out a book she discovered in his room, she discovers that males are always interested in this type of material, regardless of wealth. She asks if he wants to do it with her and offers herself to him. However, she tells Tamahiko she was just kidding when he freaks out. After saying all of this, she simply flees, and Yuzu arrives to inquire about what transpired. Tamahiko withholds the truth, claiming that Haru simply broke the jar. When he discovers that his wallet and bookmark are gone, he immediately chases after Ryo. Once inside the house, Yuzu detects a feminine scent. When Ryo discovers something else with the wallet while traveling, she chooses to keep it instead of throwing it away. Soon, Tamahiko is able to catch up to her and sees her heading inside a home, where we get to know Ryu's father is a lousy drunkard who forces her to steal money from people. Ryo doesn't have to do this at all, but her father tells her not to backtalk to him. He slaps, and her brothers and sisters run to her. He takes the money and says it's not enough for his alcohol. Ryo, however, tries to retract it so she can provide for her siblings, but after hearing all of this, she is beaten up once more. Tamahiko goes back home because he lacks the bravery to enter. Yuzu is waiting for him when he gets there and gives him a fresh candy jar. However, Tamahiko simply heads to his bedroom without saying anything. The following day, Yuzu asks Tamahiko if they can go to the mountain shrine, but he says he has work to do and declines. In an attempt to retrieve his bookmark, he visits Ryo's residence, but nobody answers the door. When Tamahiko hears a disturbance coming from the backyard, he goes to investigate. Ryo and her siblings are taking a bath while nude. They both freak out when she sees him. Ryo asks whether he's here for his wallet after getting dressed. Tamahiko disputes that the bookmark is all he wants. At that point, Taro, one of Ryo's brothers, shows up asking for her help with math. Ryo isn't particularly good at studying, so she blackmails Tamahiko. When Tamahiko is forced to teach, an interested Ryu queries why he is so fixated on a little bookmark. Since it's from the girl who would soon be his wife, Tamahiko informs her that it signifies more than that. Soon after, other siblings engage in the learning process, and they call him sensei to say goodbye after hours. Ryo's father gets home just in time to witness Tamahiko. Ryo instructs him to go right away and says he will get the bookmark later. Tamahiko has no choice than to turn home without the bookmark once more. When he gets there, Yuzu greets him and asks if he wants to have a bath or eat dinner first. Tamahiko, lacking the confidence to tell her the truth, withdraws to his bedroom. But because of all of this, Yuzu is really depressed. The following day, he makes the decision to tell Yuzu the truth, but as soon as he hears Ryo approaching, he runs to the front door. When he sees Yuzu, he remembers that she is the girl Tamahiko was referring to. She had heard whispers that she was being sold off, but she was unaware that Tamahiko preferred short girls. Tamahiko defends Yuzu, telling Ryo to control her mouth since he believes she is too wonderful for someone like him. After they were together yesterday and he even handed her the bookmark, Ryo questions why he is attempting to disguise the fact that he has a mistress. Yuzu is shocked to witness this and discovers that Ryo's feminine scent is identical to the one she discovered in Tamahiko's room. In an attempt to retrieve the bookmark, Tamahiko assures Yuzu that what Ryo says is untrue. Yuzu tears up the bookmark and declares, "Let this be the end," acknowledging that there must be inevitable circumstances. When Ryo tries to speak, Tamahiko instructs her to simply avoid him and Yuzu. Following her departure, Yuzu visits and extends an invitation to breakfast to Tamahiko, who then heads to his room. Throughout the day, Tamahiko is perplexed by Yuzu's apparent indifference to what transpired, in contrast to what he had previously observed. At that moment in the morning, Tamako calls. After Tamahiko picks it up, Tamako wishes him a happy birthday. She had intended to wish him on September 1st, but she soon corrected herself by stating that she was simply busy. After thanking her, Tamahiko inquires as to if things are going well between him and Yuzu. Knowing the scenario, Tamahiko relates what has transpired. If he ever wondered why Yuzu gave him a bellflower instead of another flower, according to Tamako, bellflowers represent unwavering love, and girls use flowers to convey their feelings. It's something you can offer to your most treasured loved one. This indicates that Yuzu has promised to always love him, no matter what. However, she tore the bookmark after realizing it had been stolen by someone else, shattering her heart. After hanging up, Tamahiko heads to his room where he notices the ripped flower and recognizes it as Yuzu's heart. He begins repairing it and continues for hours until evening, when Yuzu invites him to dinner but discovers him dozing off. As she walks in, she discovers he was repairing the bookmark as Tamahiko awakens. Tamahiko assures her that he now understands what the bellflower represents and that her love for him will endure despite Yuzu's insistence that he no longer needs to fix it. Yuzu drops to her knees and apologizes, acknowledging that she wasn't herself at the moment. However, she began to worry that she had done something wrong, which is why he was avoiding her when he stopped talking to her and eating with her. Tamahiko acknowledges that he was initially at fault, expresses regret, and admits that he should not have concealed the facts in the first place. After Yuzu pardons him, the bookmark is fixed the following day. As usual, Yuzu is assisting Tamahiko in washing his face the following day when Ryo's siblings emerge from the jungle. Tamahiko sensei agrees when asked to educate them after hearing the children refer to him as sensei. However, additional children from all throughout the village quickly arrive to study. Yuzu is astounded by the children's admiration for Tamahiko as he instructs them, and then Ryo appears. She brings Yuzu to the kitchen, where she has come to prepare lunch. She is asked by Yuzu if she feels anything for Tamahiko. Ryo states quite plainly that she likes him, but she also likes her. She was also sold to a family, just like her. And when she observed Yuzu not crying, despite knowing about the person she loves, possible affair, Ryo recognized that she was a fascinating girl. After lunch is prepared, Ryo apologizes for what she did, and Yuzu accepts her forgiveness. Just as it is today for the sword, the village children spend hours studying at his house over the course of the following few weeks. On December 31st, Yuzu and Tamahiko work together to clean the house afterwards when he gets tired. Yuzu puts his head on her lap and wishes him good night. When he wakes up a few hours later, Tamahiko searches for Yuzu and discovers her sitting by herself in the chilly weather. He asks her what she was doing as he covers her with his blanket. Yuzu admits that she was preoccupied. She is ready to marry him now that she is of legal age, and today is truly her birthday. However, Tamahiko says he cannot marry her. He and his right hand are useless, but she is too good for him. He does believe that being by himself is preferable, but he also wants to improve himself. In order to get a job and provide for their family, he wishes to pursue further education. Yuzu is prepared to wait and realizes that this is the reason he is unable to marry her just yet. Her greatest joy is simply seeing him eat what she makes while he lies on her lap. When Tamahiko hears this, he just gives Yuzu a kiss to show his devotion. But as he feels how gentle her lips were, he starts to stress out, and the scene changes to the following day. Ryotaro says farewell to Tamahiko and thanks him for everything, but he will not be able to see him for any more sessions. Ryotaro departs in the evening after saying this. Ryu rushes over and informs them that Ryotaro has vanished. After a few moments, everyone divides out and begins looking for him. After a few minutes, Tamahiko and Yuzu discover him dozing off in a storeroom. When he awakens, he goes on to say that his sister chose to sell herself once she decided to stop stealing. However, he cannot stand to watch her act in such a way. Consequently, he has chosen to support his family by working in Tokyo, but he's afraid to leave his relatives. Tamahiko is amazed to hear it. He tells Ryutaro that he is already way stronger than him, choosing to work for his family at such a young age, with this being something not many people can do, so he should be proud of himself. Just then, Ryo arrives and hugs him after hearing from the person he admires the most. Ryutaro has decided to go to Tokyo. The scene shifts to the next day as the train is about to leave. He hugs Ryo and thanks Tamahiko for everything. Back at home, Tamahiko is yet again writing a letter to his father requesting him to allow him to attend school, but he hasn't gotten a reply to any of them. Just then, 2 mail arrives. One is from Usu's friend, and the other one is from Hiko's uncle. In the letter, he shares to mention to him how Tamahiko wanted to attend school. Taishou doesn't know about his older brother, but he can't let such an excellent young man. Response: Tamahiko immediately calls him and gives his answer. Yuzu is really happy for him. With this, Tamahiko hopes to move up to the 2nd year of high school and skip a grade, but he will need to take the entrance exam, which requires a lot of study, and he is struggling because of everyone visiting his home. A famous singer named Kotori Shiratori has come to the Chiba station. Everyone in the village, as well as Yuzu, is a big fan of hers and wants to meet her. They ask him to accompany them since it will make Yuzu happy. Tamahiko would like to study, but he accepts if it will make Yuzu happy. When they get to the Chiba station, a sizable audience has assembled to enjoy Kotori Shiratori's music. Tamahiko and everyone else are at ease as she sings a calming tune. After this, Tamahiko is happy he came here. He studies and takes his entrance exam with greater attention. After losing his mother, family, and friends, he was on the brink of losing everything until Yuzu entered his life and gave him hope. He says goodbye to her and leaves for his new school, where he meets Tamahiko and another transfer student, Hikaru Shiratori, who is Kotori Shiratori's twin brother after he introduces himself. When word gets out that Tamahiko is related to the Shima family, the students begin to gossip about him and make plans to avoid him. As expected, they avoid him and instead become close to Hikaru. Tamahiko takes a while to change for gym class, which causes him to be late. Everyone is therefore instructed to run for an hour as a joint responsibility punishment. His reputation worsens after this. He eats by himself throughout lunch and becomes upset. Oddly, Hakura appears and takes a seat beside Tamahiko when everyone is asked to draw a significant other in painting class. He teases Tamahiko by claiming to have a wonderful talent and boasting about his own drawing after he sees the painting and simply starts laughing. But on seeing the drawing, Tamahiko, instead of laughing, tells Hikaru to go and change the prescription on his glasses as he is genuinely worried about him. As they both start to roast each other's art, the teacher punishes them both and tells them to make each other's portraits. They proceed to Tamahiko's residence, where Yuzu is overjoyed to have a guest. Hakura remarks that Yuzu has a cute smile while they are occupied, and Tamahiko concurs. He says that simply seeing it makes him very happy, but before he realizes what he just said, he blushes and brings some tea from the kitchen. Yuzu inquires about the school there. Tamahiko tells falsehoods about how friendly all the pupils are and how many friends he has met. They even ran a marathon together. Yuzu is pleased that he brought his friend to their home and is pleased to hear that. When their sketches are finished that night, Hakura questions him about why he deceived Yuzu. Even though it's a lie, Tamahiko tells him he doesn't want to see her upset since he finds joy in seeing her smile, but he now believes it would be preferable to tell her the truth. Hikaru calls him a fool and tells him to fulfill all of his promises. He only needs to turn his lies into the truth because lying for a good motive is never harmful. During the meal, Hikaru praises Yuzu's preparation. He is happy to have Tamahiko as a buddy since it allows him to savor such a delicious supper. Tamahiko can't contain his blush as he hears Hikaru refer to him as a buddy. When Hikaru delivers his sister the following day, Yuzu first doesn't recognize her. However, Kotori starts to fear as she reveals her face. Kotori wants to write a song about love, but is clueless about it. Therefore, she is here to learn about it from Yuzu. She wanted to get in touch with Yuzu and Tamahiko and learn from them because she knew how much they loved one another. Unconcerned, Yuzu and Tamahiko show Kotori her room, where she will remain until her music is finished. After Hakura departs, Kotori starts working and makes notes on whatever she can. The kids arrive soon to study, but as soon as they see Kotori, they all panic out and begin singing together instead. The following day at school, a student requests for a spare pencil box because he has misplaced his own. Since nobody has one, Tamahiko steps forward and hands the student the pencil, to which the student thanks him. Following this, Haku shows them an adult magazine that he borrowed from Tamahiko. Since it's the most recent edition, everyone in the class thinks it's cool, even though Tamahiko obviously didn't. When Hikaru inquires about his sister's well-being after school, Tamahiko replies that she is having fun with the other kids at the preschool. Since Kotori has been living at the house Hikaru hasn't been going to, Tamahiko invites him, but Hikaru declines because she is struggling to write a song. Kotori wants Yuzu to explain how she met Tamahiko because she is struggling at home. Thinking back, Yuzu reveals that Tamahiko's father purchased her to be his bride. She was first terrified of her future husband, and she continued to think about it as she traveled. However, she was relieved to discover how gentle he was when they eventually met. She had a wide range of feelings and events after that. She was both pleased and frightened by that. As Yuzu nods her head in embarrassment, Kotori inquires as to if Tamahiko is constantly on her mind. After hearing all of this, Kotori gains a deeper appreciation for love and is thankful to Yuzu for enabling her to compose a fantastic song. Since no one takes music as seriously as she does, Yuzu is certain that it will be a great song. However, Kotori disagrees, claiming that Hakura was the first to embrace music. As the scene changes to the evening, Tamahiko discusses what transpired at school and his perception that Hikaru is avoiding Kotori. Yuzu talks about what she heard today as well. Tamahiko, during lunch at school the next day, inquires as to whether Hikaru and Kotori had a relationship. Realizing that he should share the story, Hikaru explains that he was the first to pursue music and that he gave his all to it. But after being stricken with a condition that prevented him from doing anything for years, he gave Kotori his guitar and said they would sing together once he recovered. After 7 years, his health miraculously improved, and Kotori was already a well-known singer when she reminded him of the commitments. He calls himself pitiful for his lack of complexity, but he was exhausted and lacked the strength to catch up to her. Tamahiko assures him that he is not alone in feeling like passing away every time he remembers his family's cruel remarks or looks at his hand. However, Yuzu came along and assisted him in making the initial move toward improving himself, and Hikaru has also assisted him in the same way. After learning that he is friends with Tamahiko, Hikaru feels compelled to honor his pledge to Kotori, and the next day, Kotori's love song makes its debut. There is a large crowd there, but before she sings, Hakura steps up and performs his song, which is dedicated to his sister and is a song they used to sing together when they were kids. Kotori becomes moved and joins him, and after it is over, Kotori performs her new song. As the scene changes to the evening, Yuzu is astounded by Kotori's new song, en route because she wants to tell Tamahiko, "I love you," because of that. However, she lacks the bravery and simply gives him a hug. The next day, Yuzu gets a letter from her friend Midori, and while reading it, she becomes extremely anxious because she knows Midori is expecting a child and is getting married. Although Midori undoubtedly messed up, Yuzu is thrilled for her best friend and is inviting her to Tokyo for a few days before Midori moves in with her future husband. Because she is concerned about Tamahiko and what he will do with his meals, Yuzu is reluctant to leave. Tamahiko promises her everything will be all right, so he recommends she go and enjoy herself. They visit a village shrine in the afternoon to offer prayers for Midori and her unborn child. Yuzu also recommends that they visit this place when they become parents. However, Tamahiko feels ashamed and promptly brings Midori a good luck charm. The following day, Yuzu is prepared to go for Tokyo, and during her absence, she asks Ryo to prepare meals for Tamahiko. As they prepare to kiss, Yuzu clutches his hand and says she will miss him. For engaging in lewd behavior in public, Tamahiko slaps himself. He consoles her and assures her that when she returns home, they will kiss a lot. After she departs, he questions why he ever said that, and Yuzu meets Midori when he gets to Tokyo. Since it has been so long, they are both emotional about getting back together. They visit a neighboring cafe where Midori talks about the difficulties she faced as a result of becoming pregnant before getting married. Her lover accepted responsibility right away and pledged to marry her, much to the ire of her parents and other family members. Knowing that he is a great man makes Yuzu very happy. After they spend more time together doing different things at night, she gives Midori the good luck charm. At night, Midori asks Yuzu if she is not getting married. Yuzu says she'll wait since Tamahiko doesn't want to at this time. Concerned, Midori queries what would happen if he never does. Yuzu quietly answered that she will always be by his side, but then understands she can't have kids in that situation, while in fact she wants a lot of them. Midori was relieved to see Yuzu cheerful after she was sold off, as she had assumed she would be crying and depressed. A few days later, on September 1st, 1923, Tamahiko was growing restless because it's also the day Yuzu will return home. At that moment, the famous Great Kanto earthquake occurs, and in a matter of a minute, the entire town has fallen, and everyone is running around trying to put out the fire and assist those who are trapped. Tamahiko starts to question whether a small community has endured this much hardship. How about Tokyo? Tamahiko hears Haru's voice coming from Yuzu's room as another earthquake strikes, and his mind begins to race with unfavorable ideas of Yuzu being trapped in a building collapse or caught in a fire. When he gets there, he discovers a note she sent to him, wishing him a happy birthday and mentioning the gloves and mufflers she had bought him as a present. When she gets back, the two of them will go on a chilly winter bike ride. Tamahiko understands that Yuzu is the strongest female he has ever seen, regardless of the circumstance. He thinks she would undoubtedly make it through this hardship, but he can't just sit there and do nothing. He makes the decision to travel to Tokyo because he pledged to be by her side and defend her. Tamahiko doesn't waste any more time getting ready, cooking, and leaving. He meets Ryo and his students en route. Ryotaro is another reason Ryo wants to accompany him. The children reassure their parents that they will be okay on their own, but they are also concerned about their brother. Tamahiko informs them that he wants them to bring all of the villagers who have lost their homes to his house while he is away. Despite the fact that the house has been demolished and many people are hurt, everyone thanks his grandfather for making the house sturdy, and Tamahiko and Ryu leave with it. They pass through other villages along the road, where the situation is equally terrible. The trains are derailed, the houses are ruined, and the people are in utter despair. When he gets to Tokyo in the evening, things are even worse. People are attempting to find cover everywhere as the buildings are collapsed. When someone calls him after he yells Yuzu's name without receiving a response, Tamahiko falls from tiredness. He sees his uncle, Tamasuke Manabe, when he awakens. After hospitals were devastated, medical teams from all around Japan came here to treat patients. He suggests that he rest for a while longer, but Tamahiko is unable to do so since he must look for Yuzu right now. Although it may sound harsh, Tamasuke informs him that it is nearly hard to meet a single young woman in Tokyo given the circumstances, but Tamahiko can't just sit here doing nothing, he thinks. Tamasuke is both shocked and in awe of his increased optimism. Ryo, Tamako, and Tamahiko are prepared to go out because he wants to meet the female who has performed miracles on both his nephew and niece. They separate and look for Ryotaro and Yuzu. When Tamahiko finds a statue with the names of numerous missing individuals written on it, he enters Yuzu's name and carries on looking. They stop at numerous first aid stations along the way, but they are unsuccessful no matter where they search. As they continue on, Tamahiko hears people discussing the immediate cremation of burning corpses. This makes Tamahiko anxious since they fear they may never see Yuzu again. Tamahiko was first shocked as well, but he reassures her that Yuzu would be all right because he knows he must appear strong in front of Tamako. At night, they discover a girl who is on the verge of suicide. But when Tamahiko sees the lucky charm, he recognizes Midori, who has only come here to pray. When he inquires about Yuzu, she tells him that they became separated during their escape and that she lost consciousness. The first time she woke up was at the first aid station. Midori holds herself responsible for the current state of affairs, claiming that she would have been all right had she not called Yuzu here in the first place. Tamahiko tells Tamako to take care of Midori and reassures her that she shouldn't think that way. And without any rest, he searches for Yuzu, visiting both first aid stations and deceased people. He sees Kotori and Hikaru the following day, who are singing to lift spirits and assisting with the distribution of the meals. Hikaru and Kodi also start to worry about Yuzu without knowing about her. After receiving rice balls from Kotori, Tamahiko resumes his search. Fortunately, Ryotaro has been located, and the villagers are receiving medical attention in Tamahiko's home. Now that only Yuzu is left, a boy abruptly takes the rice balls and flees, but he returns and begs Tamahiko not to harm his sister after she is caught after falling. After giving them the rice balls and learning that they had been split apart from their parents, Tamahiko reassures them that he won't, because he has a sister as well. They explain to Tamahiko how an older sister who was assisting them unexpectedly fell while they are living there. After learning that Yuzu is the girl's name, Tamahiko enters the house right away and discovers her unconscious. He instructs the children to proceed a short distance ahead where they will encounter Kotori Shiratori, and then he carries Yuzu to the hospital. Although he is terrified for her safety, he is relieved that she is still alive. When Yuzu awakens, she sees Tamahiko and breaks down in tears. She offers him a passionate kiss and declares her love for him. However, she feels ashamed when she realizes they are not alone, and everyone is relieved to find her okay. As Yuzu consumes the rice porridge, she starts to cry, and Tamasuke thanks her for looking after his nephew. When Tamahiko's father Yoshi and his older sister Tamayo arrived, Yoshi urges Tamasuke to come to his house right away because Tamaki was hurt in the earthquake, thinking he has enough employees here to take care of the average people. However, Tamasuke declines, saying that he is no longer a member of Shima's family and that he must look after other people here. When Yoshi sees Tamahiko, he questions why a deceased person is here, and Tamasuke advises him to quit making such baseless claims about his own kid. He claims to have grown stronger and stands up for Tamahiko. In pursuit of his sweetheart, Tamahiko traveled and arrived here. Consequently, he has changed from the guy he once was. Yoshi remains silent, and Tamahiko says he's happy to see him in such good shape before he departs. Yoshi, however, dismisses him and departs. They all assist those in need for the next few days before going back to Chiba to assist and construct the community. A month later, Tamahiko and Hikaru are lounging in the hot spring as the village is fully finished. Everyone is late, but they are thrilled that everyone is here to celebrate his birthday and wish him a happy one when he gets home. Yuzu and Tamahiko visit the Inari statue in the mountain after celebrating, and Yuzu tells Tamahiko again how much she loves him. She wants to grasp his hand and kiss him repeatedly, but so many offensive thoughts cross her head that she becomes red. After expressing gratitude for her entering his life and declaring his love for her, Tamahiko kisses her.
Thank you all for watching the video. If you like it, here's another one just like it you can check out. I'll see you next time.